It's a very, very good evening to you and welcome to our last election show of the week and the last one that's going to be broadcast from this fabulous studio here in Johannesburg. So on Monday, that's one of the two special voting days. We'll broadcast from the IEC Centre in Pretoria, and that's something to look forward to. But as promised today, the focus is on political killings that is plaguing our country in the run-up to the elections. Good evening, sir.
A very good evening to you, South Africa, and a very good evening to you, Leanne. Looks like the flying solo on Monday.
Looks like it.
Yeah. As Tabiso and I will be doing something else, and Tabiso will be in Rio de Janeiro for the Olympics, and I'll be anchoring through in Johannesburg for the election. Exciting times, isn't it, Tabiso?
Well, indeed, but tell you what, in fact, our viewers will still see me on this very set because as of next week, this set takes over as our Olympic set, so definitely when the crew comes through to me, that's when we catch me.
Good, excellent.
Well, good evening to you at home. Well, I'll miss the interaction between those two, but I'm looking forward to the Rio Games a bit, if I can call it that way. So do stay tuned because later in the show, as you said, we'll explain what you can expect from the voting booth, the voting station, something I mentioned yesterday at the end of the show, and I know a couple of the viewers, rather, on social media were saying, Tabiso confused us there a little bit, but I'll be explaining exactly what I meant in regards to your ballot papers in the voting booth. Over to Leanne and Simpiyo for now.
All right, Tabiso, thank you very, very much for that. So, Police Minister Nathi Nhleko has promised that the National Prosecuting Authority will speed up cases that involve politically motivated crimes.
Now, this comes just after several attacks and murders in recent months. Most of the attacks are in KwaZulu-Natal. Lucas Malloy reports.
Minister Nhleko set up a task team to investigate 25 cases relating to politically motivated violence. The team consists of the Police Crime Intelligence Unit and the Hawks and the Taxi Violence Task Force. It established that 14 murders or attempted murders have been committed and one of culpable homicides, as well as 2 arson attacks and 2 incidences of public violence. Just more than 20 suspects have been arrested. The minister says the aim of the special task team is to instill confidence and stability through the speedy prosecution of the murder suspects.
We felt that it was important to pull them into the equation, precisely because you may find that it's possible that one particular case has got more or less similar kind of suspects in one form or the other and so on, precisely because in most of these particular incidences you will find that there are hitmen that are also being euthanized.
In KwaZulu-Natal, the ANC has lost 12 candidates and the IFP 2 of its members in an escort last Friday. Minister Nhleko says 4 other people were killed in Northwest, Gauteng, Mpumalanga and the Eastern Cape. The team investigated the possibility that professional hitmen were used in some of these killings.
All right, that's a very serious topic that we're going to be tackling with our special political researcher, Ranesh Dwaj, after the break. Is going to help us understand these killings that are taking place around the country.
It is absolutely inconceivable, Leanne, that most people still have the mentality that to have access to a political office, one has to have blood in their hands. It's just unbelievable. We'll be back right after this.
Mr. President, thank you for choosing the moon.
Oh, this view is magnificent. This has to be the proudest day of our lives.
Not hungry, huh?
Is he eating?
Nope.
Okay, Commander. Come with me.
Roger.
5 or 10-second countdown.
Eagle looking great, you're go. Roger, looks great, Houston.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. You have liftoff.
person we're searching for. The guy who steps up, way, way up. The queen of the pop and lock, and whatever this is. The party train conductor, all aboard. The answer is yes, you are that guy, and we salute you, party comrade. Join the movement online.
News Today provide news updates giving a wealth of knowledge. Breaking stories and crossing live for you. We follow business developments intensely. Experts and analysts tackle all challenging issues for you. We cover stories locally and abroad to keep you informed. We cover all sporting codes just for you. We are sure to give you weather to be ready for the day. Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
It's a very good evening to you if you've just tuned in. Just gone 6 o'clock here on SABC 2 and Channel 404. You're watching our special pre-election program. This evening we're focusing on political killings and the turmoil in KwaZulu-Natal. Our specialist political researcher, Ranesh Dwaj, is in our Durban studio, and he's hopefully going to give us a little bit of an explanation as to what's been going on. Ranesh, thank you very much for joining us here on the program, and welcome.
Thanks, Leah, and you are more than welcome.
Ranesh, before we get into the political killings, which I think is going to take up the bulk of our conversation, I just want to touch on, right at the top of our interview, about the issue of the NFP. Tomorrow we'll know whether it has done enough to contest the municipal elections. Not to preempt the court case, of course, but what do you think the chances are for the NFP?
I think the case of the NFP is a very, very special one, and I don't think it should have happened, not in 2016 and not, over such a tense local government election. You would recall in 2011 when the National Freedom Party was formed, it actually captured 2.4% of the vote in KZN, and it also won 2 councils outright. It also shared 19 hung councils together with the ANC. In these elections, they are contesting just in one municipality. They have 17 seats, 8 ward and 9 PR seats. They are contesting in the Utu municipality. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But tomorrow, I think the NFP's chances are rather slim because, just to take you back to another case that that actually set a precedent, the ACDP was shut out of the Cape Metropolitan elections back in 2006, 10 years ago. Obviously, they went to the electoral court. They lost the electoral court case. They went to the Concourt, and there they actually won their case, and they were allowed to participate in those elections in 2006. But I think the major difference here between the NFP and the ACDPs was that the ACDP only was left out of one major council. With regard to the NFP, it's a whole number of municipalities here in KZN. Obviously, you and I know that there are 61 municipalities here in KZN. So to get the NFP on that ballot, remember local government elections, by its very nature are very complex because we are looking at ward, PR, and then, in KZN we have lots of district municipalities. So to include the NFP on a ward ballot, on a PR ballot, also on the district council ballot, I think it's going to prove a huge, huge nightmare for the IEC. Yeah. So looking at tomorrow, well, we all hope that the NFP succeed, but I sincerely think that the chances are very slim.
Gosh, all right, it's not going to be good news for them. But let's, of course, wait for the results to come out tomorrow, so they'll be able to know. Now, I mean, we talk about the NFP, and obviously, automatically, we think of KwaZulu-Natal because that's the area where they've got most of their supporters, and this is a very volatile area. We've seen the majority of the political killings taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. What is going on with these political killings? Try and give us a little bit of an understanding.
Leanne, I sincerely think that, obviously with the lead up to any election, especially local or municipal elections, it is essentially about access to resources, it is about access to power, and very importantly, it is about influence. Influence in terms of tender processes in councils, when local councils eventually sit for the next 5 years. So it is about that. And, if I have to look at the kind of salaries that these councillors actually take home, if you look at a full-time councillor, in South Africa's municipalities earn anything between 38,000 and 70,000 rand a month. So that's a huge, huge amount of money. Then you look at the part-time councillors, ward and PR councillors. Their salaries range anything between 195,000 to 416,000. And this excludes all the perks, the car allowances, the cell phone allowances, stipends, etc., etc. And then you look at people like the municipal managers, the mayors, they earn anything between 1 million to, 3 million, 3.4 million. So yeah, the fight for access to resources, the fight for access, to power, for influence, I think that's the underlying factor in, that's actually behind all of these killings, behind all of these attacks as well.
Yeah, I mean, we are reading reports that a lot of these killings, or some of them at least, have actually been an inside job. And let's just talk about the killings within the ANC, that there's been allegations that they've actually hired taxi hitmen to kill some of the different candidates within the ANC. Now, I mean, talk to us about that, because this is it's quite a big allegation.
No, it's a massive, massive allegation. And as you rightfully pointed out earlier, the Minister of Police addressed a media briefing yesterday, Minister Natalie Nhleko. And, obviously in KZN, they made an announcement of a commission of inquiry that's going to look into these political killings. If you look at the ANC alone, the ANC has lost 9 ward and PR councillor candidates, from January this year. One was quite recent in the Eastern Cape 2 days ago. So it's a huge headache for the ANC. If we look back at the political violence or killings here in KZN between 2010 and 2015, there has been no less than 64 people who have actually perished. We've had people from the ANC, from the NFP, from the IFP, SACP, Achang SA, COPE as well, and there was an unknown person who came from a party. Well, nothing was established from which party he was. But yes, if you look at the ANC killings especially, those were very strategic because those people who were targeted were actually timed very nicely. They were dropping off their kids. They were either at home. The so-called hitman ensured that the person actually died because it wasn't a matter of 1 or 2 bullets. They fired like 11 or 12 rounds of ammunition until the person was certified dead, on the scene. The real tragedy about all of these killings, especially with the ANC ward and PR councillors, was that most of these killings, 4 of those councillors were actually killed in front of their children. Some of them were dropping off their kids at school at 6:30. That's the reason I'm saying it was very precision. These guys were timed very nicely by these hitmen. But again, just to go back to what the minister said yesterday at the briefing, that obviously the investigation is going to be a very prolonged, long issue. So the answers we're not going to get very, very soon. Hopefully something will come after the elections next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost painting a picture for a lot of us to be, or should we? I suppose the question I'm going to ask you is, should we be concerned for next week? Because, if we're already seeing councillors being killed, and I mean, you threw a number out there which actually took me a bit by surprise, 64 murders this year, politically motivated murders, if we can call them that, because I know the minister doesn't even want to say politically motivated as yet, because he still wants investigations in. And I know we say majority from KwaZulu-Natal and from the ANC, but there are a lot of political parties that have lost lives, and in different provinces as well. So the numbers are all coming in. Come next week, what is going to happen? I mean, are you expecting there to be a lot of fighting, more killings around election day and when the results come out?
You know what, Leanne, I am more concerned after Election Day, because remember, we have only close to 10,000 council seats, ward and PR seats, and we have 63,000 candidates on those election lists. So 55,000 people are going to be terribly unhappy post-August the 3rd. So my real worry, real concern is post-August the 3rd. But I think political parties and their leaders also have a huge responsibility on their shoulders. In mid-June sometime, the IEC issued a very scathing statement saying that, you know, this is unacceptable. Leaders need to speak up. Their supporters, their members are ultimately responsible for what they say, for what they do, for any kind of action, whether it's a killing, whether it's, you know, somebody aiming a water bottle towards a journalist at a rally or an event. You know, another very good example is these town hall debates that the SABC hosts, you know, every week. If you look at the supporters of those parties, those supporters, when the representative of one political party is speaking, the supporters of one political party is kind of drowning the person from speaking, preventing the person from speaking. So that in itself is political intolerance, and leaders need to actually talk up and say, calm down, this is a democracy, we need to listen to what the other person has to say, because democracies actually flourish with, you know, with views from lots of different people, lots of different angles, lots of different political parties. Just this weekend, there was a horrible incident that the DA suffered. They went on a motorcade. I think they had 75 cars in that motorcade. You know, nothing has been proven, but there was a guy with a chainsaw, you know, just standing on the road. The road was blocked with stones, and you know, obviously no party took responsibility for that. The guy sliced off, you know, one of the mirrors of the cars. You know, the DA laid a complaint to the respective political party. Obviously, they denied this. They said, we need solid proof. Again, it comes down to political parties. Their leaders actually need to step up to the plate and say, enough is enough, especially in KZN, we need to act on this.
Yeah, I mean, these are very worrying scenarios that you're painting for us here. And I can imagine that the authorities are also very aware of this and very worried as well. Because after all is said and done, the idea is to get back to normality, because, you know, whenever there is an election brewing, there always is trouble. But getting back to normality is what we do desperately need. Has there been talk from the police minister himself and other security personnel whether or not there is going to be extra security during this time and after the elections?
Again, Leanne, going back to what the police minister said during the briefing yesterday, obviously, you know, this election is going to be very, very closely watched. Lots of people, lots of observers. We had the observers list from the IEC yesterday. We had a look. There's a whole range of observers that are going to be, you know, watching these elections very closely. And obviously, at every voting station, we've got 22,612 voting stations for these elections. Each voting station will have police personnel. Each voting station is entitled to have 2 agents per political party at that station. But going back to, just back to the stats again, the police minister announced that 100,000 police officers are going to be deployed for these elections. 50,000 of those are going to be static, meaning that those people are not going to be moved anywhere. They're going to be based at those 22,612 voting stations. And then if we look at the risk scenarios that he painted yesterday, he says that 20,634 were low-risk stations, 1,328 were medium risk, that's around 6%, and high risk, we only have a small number, it's 650, or that equates to around 3%. So yes, these elections come next week. Everybody, even the international community, is going to be watching this with lots of concern.
Yeah, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for talking to us this evening once again. Our political researcher, Rinesh Draj, is in our Durban studio. You know, it's quite fascinating to actually read some of the numbers. I suppose fascinating is the wrong word, but when you take a total, guys, of the numbers of political killings there have been, and I quote what Rinesh has said, 64 in total people have been killed. These are 30 from the ANC. This is over a period of 2010 to from 2010. So 30 are from the ANC, 18 are from the IFP. the NFP, I beg your pardon, 12 are from the IFP. The SACP is 1, Gang SA 1, Cope 1. But this is not taking into account what's been happening this year as well.
I mean, this year, look, I think KZN, I mean, Pietermaritzburg in particular, where I come from, I know there's about 3 or 4 that I know of, you know, and some of them, of course, we did report on the SABC News. So it is rather hectic this year, to say the least.
Is, certainly is.
Maybe how does one just stand in front of people representing their interests in Parliament or provincial councils, knowing that there's blood in their hands, knowing that families have lost their breadwinners?
But Ronaldo made a point, though, when he said, you know, it's about those pennies maybe at the end of the day. You know, mayor gets 1 point whatever million rand a year, so it could be part of that, you know. But just before you go to a break, interestingly, for our viewers as well, if you're watching at home, our website is up, Leanne. You know that one, we enjoy using that website, elections.sabc.co.za. Please log on there. You can see exactly what you're doing. You can get podcasts, get the latest news, and as far as SABC News' coverage of the elections concerned, all the latest stories, even if you don't have them in our news bulletins, they'll definitely be on there. This, of course, elections.sabc.co.za. Now we go for a quick break. Stay with us.
We are one of the 22 high-burden countries, and out of that, we're number 6, following countries like India, China, and with huge population.
Cough, night sweats, weight loss, and fever, and cough being the most important of those. So, and especially if the cough lasts for more than 3 weeks, then you really have to worry and get tested for TB.
The motivation is to affect behavior change, particularly with people who cough and who may be carrying the bacterium. So encouraging people to use their elbow.
For more on health, join your host Dr. Selo Motaung every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m.
News Today keeps you informed with news locally and around the world.
When Judge John Hlophe challenged the Supreme Court of Appeal when it sent the matter back and said that there must be an inquiry set up.
We unpack business news.
There's an increase in general inflation in the country.
We give you up-to-date news of the day.
The drugs were seized at several locations in Sydney, including a shipping container sent from Hong Kong. Police saying it's the largest haul of illicit drugs in 2 years.
We round up sports news.
Kotata, tell me about the legacy that you would like to build and be remembered for.
Trying to get my foundation running, which is going to focus on, you know, all the sport, doesn't matter disability or able body. So, I mean, I'm passionate about sports.
Stay informed every Monday to Friday from 3 to 5:30 p.m. CAT. SABC News.
Now this is Trends, of course, your one-stop serving of all that's juicy and trending in the world of entertainment and showbiz. My name, of course, is Refill Wemwilo.
I'm Dr. Selo Motaung, and this is Health Talk.
A very good morning and welcome to Media Monitor. I'm your host, Alicia Jolly.
My name is Dumila Matters.
William Mulabati.
My name is Mpo. What time is it? It's question time.
For your daily dose of current affairs, tune in to the SABC News channel.
Right, welcome back, everybody. A 75 million rand grain manufacturing agri-park has been opened in Springbokpan in the northwest.
Indeed, Leanne, and the facility is expected to boost the province's economic growth and tackle youth unemployment in the province. Silwane Kakao reports.
This agri-park will be the grain hub in the northwest. Food such as maize meal, samp, and cooking oil will be manufactured here. The grain used here is produced by local small-scale farmers across the Ngaka Modiri Molema district. Farmers say it has not been easy recovering from the drought that has crippled the farming sector countrywide since last year. According to farmer Musala Shuping Khomu, he suffered huge losses.
Last year it was bad. The drought hit us hard. I lost 1 million in rent and cent. This and yeah, I normally get 2 tons per hectare, but I got only 50 kilograms per hectare last year, so it was bad.
But this year is better. Farmers across the Northwest will now work together with government through the AgriParks initiative. The initiative will give them better rewards on their crops compared to previous agreements they had with independent commercial farmers. For the first time, small-scale farmers will reap the benefits of their toil. They will receive 80% of their produce as compared to the previous 10%, where commercial farmers would take up to 90% of their produce. The farmers have welcomed the initiative, saying it has renewed their hope in the farming sector.
We are happy that we are going to get 80% because commercial farmers have been taking 10% for giving us 10%.
What I really like most out of it is because of I feed the nation, you know. Like everything that I do it out of passion.
I feel very happy.
Meanwhile, the youth has been encouraged to join the agricultural sector to reduce unemployment.
The major challenge we face in the province is youth unemployment. It's about 37%. I'm very happy that the person who is now doing the plowing, doing the planning, doing the processing, the producing and the selling is a young woman. This is an example, and also it attests to our decision that when we said there must be YES, Youth Entrepreneurship Services, when we said there must be YARD, Youth in Agriculture and Rural Development, we were right.
The AgriParks initiative is also expected to boost the country's economy.
The government has got a program to transform rural economies. It's rural economy transformation model. So the government has developed that model and has built the AgriParks around this model. The idea is that you bring enterprise and industry where people live so that you retain people where they are by creating the economy around them.
The AgriParks initiative will be rolled out countrywide, where each district in the country will receive one AgriPark. The Department of Rural Development and Land Reform has set aside a budget of 2 billion rands to see to the implementation of this initiative. Silwana Khachau, SABC News, Springbok Pan in the Northwest.
Now, in yesterday's program, Leanne and Simpiwa mentioned that, well, in some instances, voters will get 2 ballot papers, and others they might even get 3 following some interaction, as I said earlier, on social media. I realized that some of our viewers were left a bit confused, so I'll try and, well, basically spell it out. Now, on election day, you will receive a ballot paper with a unique number, and it must be stamped at the back to validate it and verify that it, of course, was issued by the election committee on election day. In fact, the IEC on election day for municipal elections, voters in metros and local councils receive 2 ballot papers, one for a ward councillor and one for a political parties. Now, voters in areas which form part of a district council, they receive a 3rd ballot paper for district council elections. In other words, only those in municipalities will get 2, and those in districts will get 1 extra one, 3 ballot papers. Unfortunately, that's all I have for you for now. I'll be back. In fact, no, I'm not coming back anytime soon. I'm coming back, I think, on the 23rd, yeah?
Is that when you're back in South Africa?
Yeah, 23rd.
That is fantastic.
It's not, actually. It's too much work.
No, it's amazing. You're going to Rio. You're going to the
These
Olympics.
are basically a worst holiday, guy.
Oh, I know. You're getting blasé about it. These are your 5th Olympics.
I think these will be my last.
Well, this will be I can't tell you how many I've watched. So, yeah, that's about as close as I get to the Olympics. I watch them on
you
the
probably
television.
enjoy them more than I do because I'm actually
you're
behind the scenes working.
Although I love it when you get to chat to the winners. I mean, especially when Chad wins and there he is in his costume coming through and there's Thabiso grabbing him. Listen, all the best. So while Thabiso's off in Rio, hopefully not getting too busy jiving on the streets. We're going to be in Pretoria bringing you everything about the elections next week already, everybody. We look forward to being with you Monday night as usual, same time.
Thank you so much, South Africa, for your interaction and for your feedback on this very beautiful show. Remember, on August the 3rd, next Wednesday, do the right thing. Put your cross on the face of whosoever you want you to lead.
Don't forget, if you have special votes Monday, the 1st and the 2nd, don't forget that. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye, everybody.
It's been
Good
cool,
night.
South Africa. Good night.